Oh, why hello there, weary traveler. I didn't see you come in. Please, take a seat. I was just in the middle of one of my favorite holiday traditions, sitting by a fire, enjoying a nice cup of hot chocolate on a frosty winter's night, and watching the classic Christmas TV special Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. What's that? You haven't heard of the animated holiday special played endlessly on Cartoon Network every Christmas season for the past 20 years? My, what a sad existence you've been living. Here, let me brighten your day and tell you how it came to be in the style of an informative 5-step PowerPoint presentation. Step 1. Be a veterinarian that plays country music on the side and catch the attention of songwriter Randy Brooks, who's been shopping around a joke song he created about a woman violently meeting her end at a one-horse open sleigh. Step 2. Record the song as a novelty record in 1979 and unexpectedly have it blow up over the next couple of years, becoming an incredibly popular Christmas song still beloved over 40 years later. Step 3. Break up with your wife in 1985 and have her steal the B-side to that record, Percy the Puny Poinsettia, that bitch, and most likely lose your mind, swirling into a downward spiral of continuously worse novelty Christmas songs attempting to recreate that ever-fleeting glory that eclipses your entire career. Step 4. Totally give in to the madness and, in the year 2000, commission an unknown animation studio to adapt your one-hit and various lesser songs into a 45-minute musical special aptly titled Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. Step 5. Profit? Okay, being real for a second, I may have exaggerated a few of the details there, but what else am I supposed to interpret it as? Have you ever seen a movie that was based entirely off the premise of a novelty joke Christmas song? It's about as logical as making a film out of I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas or Don't Shoot Me Santa Claus. I don't think they were written with a full 3-act story in mind. Granted, it's not the first Christmas film based on a song. Rudolph is an easy example to point to, but Rudolph isn't about an elderly woman getting run down and killed by a symbol of holiday joy. It's pretty much all described in the song. Grandma gets run over in the dead of night, family finds her body on Christmas Day, Grandpa might have had something to do with it and wants to hook up with Cousin Mel. The end. It's not all that complex of a story. Didn't really require too much of an expansion from there. Or so we thought. Because regardless of whether or not common sense went against it, a team of 3 writers, that's the original singer Elmo Shropshire and 2 other guys who don't matter, came together in 1999 to pen their connecting piece in the Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer cinematic universe, aka the GGROBARCU, and released it to critical acclaim? No, it didn't. At least I don't think it did. I can't get specific numbers of how this film performed when it premiered on the WB, but I'm guessing not too many people were super interested in seeing it for fairly obvious reasons, but then again, maybe I'm being too presumptuous. I'm sure there were plenty of families during that cold December evening who waited with anticipation for this special and promptly turned it off 5 minutes in, knowing they'd made a horrible mistake. And to all this overt, pungently thick sarcasm, you might be thinking, alright Braxton, we get it. Nobody wanted this movie and it was a terrible idea from the word go. If that's the case though, why is it that AMC, the CW, Freeform, and Cartoon Network have continuously played this over and over again for the last 2 decades? Well, as much as I'd like to assume Elmo secretly has blackmail on all the executives, forcing them to spread his works for generations to come or suffer the consequences, I've got a theory that's more mundane, but also 100 times more plausible. So, have you guys ever heard of this movie called It's a Wonderful Life? Black and white film, stars James Stewart. Angel tells a guy who's had the worst day of his life, "No, don't jump, you're so sexy, and shows him a world where he didn't exist. It's a classic Christmas special with hundreds of loving parodies that's ingrained into the public zeitgeist today. But believe it or not, when it was released, the film was actually a box office bomb. At the time, while it met with mixed reviews, it barely made back half of what went into it, so the thing pretty much got abandoned for 40 years after the fact, meaning the distributor didn't renew the license on exclusivity, meaning it entered the public domain, meaning people could air it whenever or however they liked without needing to pay licensing fees. So essentially, with no barrier to keep it from being aired, a bunch of public access channels with nothing else to show aired it every December, and slowly, it became a holiday classic. Then just take that entire process I described and speed it up 100 times, minus the entering public domain bits, and you've got Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. Basically, it was a movie no one cared about that could be aired for dirt cheap, so every major network that could started airing it, and it's become a long-standing American tradition ever since, like daylight savings time or circumcision. Nobody really wants to do it, and honestly, everyone would be better off if we could get rid of it. But are you gonna be the first guy to stand up and say, we should stop this? Psh, no. Why would you? Everyone else is doing it, you'd look like an asshole. And it's that half-hearted pacifism of the American people that's led to us being the only country in the world that doesn't use the metric system. Wait, what the fuck am I saying? Wasn't I talking about Christmas or something? Oh yeah. Grandma and the reindeer, yeah. What I'm trying to say is that this movie continues to persist 23 years later, mainly due to two things. The never-ending greed, opportunism, and aversion to conflict of the American subconscious, and me. Cause goddammit, I can't lie to you. I've watched this thing every year from the moment I was born, and I'm not gonna stop now. I'm like a drug baby. I got hooked on this at a young age, and I'm gonna keep doing it till I either stop finding enjoyment out of it or die. And considering what I'm talking about, I don't think I'm gonna get bored anytime soon. It's a terrible, terrible movie that I can never get enough of no matter how many times they air it. And that's the real tragedy in this whole story. Not my pitiful addiction to bad Christmas movies, not the rampant consumerism, not the tight grip this special has on Cartoon Network's balls following every Halloween, but that this thing was popularized through TV airings, and with the death of cable, kids these days aren't gonna be forced to watch it if they want to get to the K&D Christmas special, and that's will not stand. These liberal streaming services want to take the vehicular manslaughter out of Christmas, and I, for one, am not going to stand for it. It is unacceptable. So boys and girls, sit back and relax while I tell you about the absolute insanity that is Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. And yes, I do have to say the whole title every time. But before I tell you about one story of vehicular hit and run, let me tell you a bit about one of mine. See, when I was a kid, my family got sandwiched between two other cars, and at the time, my parents knew it would be a real daunting task finding an attorney to get it all sorted out. I'm too young to remember what it was like myself, but from what I heard, it was a headache to go through because of the long process. Thankfully though, nowadays, that intimidating idea of filing a claim can be completed on your phone in 8 clicks or less from the comfort of your own couch thanks to today's sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. With over 800 lawyers operating in 49 states, they're the absolute biggest injury law firm in all of America, and by using their modernized, fast approach to getting claims filed, they can let you know if you've got a case in no time at all. Submitting an injury claim after a car accident is a no-brainer, so if you've been in an accident and want to make the process as painless as possible, you can check out Morgan & Morgan today. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/juststop or dial pound LAW, that's pound 529, from your cell phone. Thanks to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring, and on with the video. But where do I even begin discussing such an integral piece of cinema? I guess the best place to start would be the story, but that's sort of difficult to do, as it's less a singular narrative and more a collage of every generic Christmas special you've ever seen. Now, I'm not usually the type of person to do a nostalgia critic style play-by-play of a film's plot and make that the review, but just this once, I feel like I need to do a quick summary, since otherwise you're gonna have no idea how to decipher my insane ramblings. Alright, here we go. Told from the perspective of an older version of the main character, a la A Christmas Story, we follow a kid that gets teased for believing in Santa and his grandma, who owns a small general store and refuses to sell it to the big corporate businessman looking to commercialize the holiday. However, that doesn't sit well with the kid's evil, money-grubbing, sexy older cousin Mel, so she tries to sabotage the business by poisoning a single fruitcake so grandma will get less customers and be forced to sell it? Because of course a business would be interested in buying a store that recently had a major health incident. Ooh, but what's this? That fruitcake concoction ends up attracting Santa's reindeer. And so Santa, in his literal infinite wisdom, instead of driving grandma to a hospital or checking with her family first, decides to take her to the North Pole to treat her, leaving an easily lost message in the snow saying, "BRB, I owe you one grandma," and proceeding to hold on to her for 9 months while her family desperately tries looking for her. Then, seeing as 3/4 of a year had passed and everyone rightfully assumed grandma was dead, Cousin Mel attempts to sell the store for literal millions of dollars, and the main kid isn't happy about this for reasons? I don't know, probably something about sentimentality or the true meaning of Christmas, or it's not always about the money, Spider-Man. There's never a specific justification given. I guess we're just supposed to inherently be against big corporations swallowing small businesses for large sums of money. The point is, kid needs to stop Cousin Mel, so he finds Grandma, who, get this, has amnesia, but before she can present herself to the authorities, Cousin Mel kidnaps her, so she can sue Santa for Grandma's disappearance, as if he wasn't guilty of that already. How did this suddenly go from her trying to sell a store to suing Santa Claus under false pretenses? Why, for the sake of a Miracle on 34th Street-esque court drama scene, complete with O.J. Simpson references to boots. Oh, and also, they use this to absolve Santa of his crimes by being all, well, Santa, you may have hit a woman, kidnapped her, and held her hostage for several months without a single word to the family you clearly know, being that you're Santa Claus and know everyone, but you left a sticky note at the scene of the crime, and you seem pretty sorry about it, and you're literally neurodivergent and a minor, and in the end, isn't the true meaning of Christmas vehicular homicide, so get out of here, you little scamp. We need Christmas to happen. You saved Christmas, kid. Also kill Cousin Mel, kill her. She's guilty of almost ruining Christmas. We need to end her life. So yeah, that's what watching this movie feels like. And as you can see, it's sort of a mess from every possible angle. But then again, that description I gave might not have been enough to thoroughly convince you, so instead of attempting to dissect this film's loosely strung together series of events it calls a plot, I'm just gonna list off every discrepancy or unanswered question I could come up with while watching it. I figure that's the amount of effort this type of project deserves, so let's go again. Number 1. Why the hell does everyone think the main character is crazy for believing in Santa Claus when he actually 100% does exist? Like, this is an issue that exists in a lot of Christmas stories, and it's usually chalked up to only people who believe in Santa can see him, disregarding how presents got under the tree without the parents putting them there, but here especially, it makes zero sense, as Santa can be seen and heard by everyone. He appears to people that don't believe in him who can visually and audibly detect his presence. So tell me, please, how has no one ever picked up on the fact that he can be heard and seen flying through the night on Christmas Eve? Did they just assume it was the wind? Number 2. Why does Grandma feel such an aversion to selling the store? I know I already brought this up during the recap, but seriously, what's so special about this location? As far as we know, it's simply the spot where her store currently is. And considering she delivers to people all over, meaning she's not averse to selling elsewhere, why doesn't she take the money and invest in a bigger, better store built in a less expensive area to live? Who cares if some billionaire wants your location for his capitalism mobile? You would be rich. Who cares? Number 3. What did Cousin Mel plan to do with Grandma after she won the lawsuit? It's not like court cases can't be reopened when new evidence is brought to the table. Not to mention there's the whole kidnapping thing, which Grandma wouldn't have any reason to be quiet about. I get they can't kill her in this, despite that literally being what the song's about, but if she wanted to get away with it, I'm just saying, there were more efficient methods. Number 4. How is it that Santa can find Grandma right outside her house and know exactly who someone is when he wants to, yet he can't be bothered to ever let the family know that she's alright besides a letter that could easily get lost? I get he had good intentions, I suppose, but causing a hit and run and taking the victim back to your secret compound for treatment isn't exactly legal, Santa. And finally, number 5, why is this movie actually Tony Award nominated Broadway musical Mamma Mia? You see, I thought I was watching a Christmas movie, but it turns out this is actually closer to being a jukebox musical. Except in this case, it isn't formatted around Swedish pop group ABBA, but the album Dr. Elmo's Twisted Christmas, a cacophony of terrible holiday songs with cover art that looks like it was lovingly created in the finest edition of Microsoft Paint. And before you ask, no, none of the songs have anything to do with what's happening in the story other than the title track. Really, they've all got the most jarring transitions into singing that you could possibly imagine. You understand that rule of musicals where the point of singing is that once words can't do enough to express emotions, you sing? Right. Trash that idea, throw it away. In Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, traditional rules need not apply. They'll sing when they goddamn please. 1 minute Cousin Mel is asking Grandpa to sign over the rights to the store, the next he's singing a song about Grandma having weird old people sex in heaven with Elvis. That's life. They're basically jump scares, but instead of lasting for a second, they go on for up to a minute at a time, slowly forcing you to remember that this is how you're spending your remaining time on Earth. It's an element of this film's subliminal message about the inevitability of death that needs to be appreciated for what it is. In fact, you know what? Top 5 Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer songs. Let's go for a third fucking time. This video is gonna be nothing but a list by the time I'm done with it. Number 5, Feels Like Christmas. More like it feels like shit. Got 'em. Number 4, Grandma's Killer Fruit Cake. It made me want to kill her myself. Number 3, Grandpa's gonna sue the pants off of Santa. This is factually incorrect. Cousin Mel was gonna do that. Don't fucking gaslight me. Number 2, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. The title track would have been ranked higher if it were sung by Elmo himself, but for God knows why, it seems to be sung by some impersonator. You're not Dr. Elmo, motherfucker, except no substitutes. Number 1, Grandma Spending Christmas with the Superstars. It made me think about leathery, slow old people coitus, so it's immediately my top pick. I mean, how could I not think about it when Grandpa gets Grandma's crusty 30s lingerie thrown at him at 5 frames per second? That right there? That's art. That scene where Grandma doesn't have toes? Art. That scene where Jake goes cross-eyed? It's art. An art that's slowly evaporating these days with the introduction of budget and standards. But what do they know? If a world where animation isn't a medium for excessive child labor from underpaid overseas studios means no more films like Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, then I say send those kids to the mines. I've been Just Stop. You've been listening to someone talk about this movie when you could easily watch it on archive.org. Thanks for watching.